Today I'm going to be showing you how we load our Scout truck camper onto our Toyota Tundra. Now that the fence is open, it's time to back the truck up here, and then the next step will be to raise up the camper. If we look underneath back here, you'll also be able to see our airbags, and we're actually going to make sure we let all of the air out of the airbags before we back up under the camper. That way the truck is just as low as it can be. We put our air fill up spots back here on the rear bumper. Really wasn't a lot of air in the airbags. I haven't had the camper on in a few months as we've been doing house projects, and that's why the bed mat is out. Before we put the camper back on, we washed out the bed and cleaned out all the dirt and stuff. Now it's time to get out our drill and our adapter and a fresh battery. This is the drill that we use. It's a Ryobi brushless cordless drill. This is what the adapter looks like to raise up the camper. It just fits in here. Now I'll show you how the jacks work and how we raise it up. We just put the bed mat in, as you saw. This is what it looks like. And it's not too thick, but it really keeps the camper from sliding around and kind of protects it from the metal bed. This camper has 4 Happy Jack camper jacks. They're currently in the extended out position. That'll make more sense once the truck is on the camper and I put the arms in. You'll see what I mean. And to raise it up, you turn to the left. To lower it, we go to the right. It's a little difficult. I think it might be a little frozen, but I just put it in here and now we're going to the left. And it would be easier if you had 2 people or really 4 people, so you could do all the legs at once. But I just go around in a pattern and trying to keep it pretty level as I go up. And it probably takes like 10 or 15 minutes. So far, I've done them all once, and then I just did this one again. Now it's time to make my way back around. Over here you can see our diesel heater set up. We just worked on that a little bit. It lasted for a little bit more than a year. And then we had a problem with the fuel pump, so we replaced some parts. And we have a separate video on this setup if you'd like to see that. At this point, the camper's up all the way. We actually put lines on each leg to know how far we need to go up to. And we just reached that on all of them. And here's a look at the wiring setup on this end of the camper. We just made a hole up here and there's a little grommet. And then the other end of the connector connects right up here. Now the next step is just lining up the truck a little bit better and driving underneath the camper. Now the camper is in all the way and it's pretty straight. And then now the next step is to lower it down a little bit. But before we do that, we put all the straps on the hooks, just because the lower the camper gets, the harder it is to put the straps on. I also like to plug this in before we lower the camper. And now it's the same process for lowering it. I just go around and do each corner slowly. And once we get down a little bit, I will show you that we shove these pieces of wood in this side to just really make the camper snug in the truck bed. Now that the camper is pretty low, you can see we've only got a few inches down here. This is really when you can kind of shift it around and kind of maneuver it to be in the bed the way you want it. There's not much wiggle room, but there is some. And in the summer, we always have like our 5-gallon water can out here, and that's connected to our sink. But that's not the setup we use in the winter because it would freeze. But we still like to have these in here just so the truck camper is really wedged in and just decreases the amount that it could possibly wiggle around. So I just put this in here next to the wheel well. Then once it's in there, sitting straight up, you can kind of like move the camper a little bit, and it just takes a couple times to get this to fall into place nicely. And then once it's down, I'll lower this side a little bit further down so it's really wedged in there. You can see we still have to lower the camper a little bit more, but I was able to get both pieces of wood. There's the left side, and the right one's hard to see, but it is in there. We're almost ready to lower the camper all the way, but I am going to back up a little bit more because you can see we do have a little gap in between the back of the cab and the camper. And now we really don't have as big of a gap back here. So now that the jacks are completely up, it's time to get them closer to the camper because you're not supposed to be driving around like this. This is just for loading and unloading purposes. The first step is to take the 2 pins out. They're different sizes. The bottom pin is a little bit bigger. Once both pins are out, we're going to pull the jack out a little bit. This arm will flop down, and you got to make sure to not pinch your fingers, and then you'll be able to slide it in almost right against the camper. And that's it. You just have to reline up the pins, and this is driving mode if you want to leave the camper jacks on. If you're going to have the camper on the truck for a while and you don't want to have these on, you want to save some weight, you can just take them off and leave them at your house. But we always bring them with us on longer road trips because in case there's a problem and we need to take the camper off at the truck for whatever reason, it's just nice to have them with you. You can see right down there is the lower pinhole, and then the other one is right up there. So it does take some adjusting, but it's really not that hard. Both pins are in, and this one's sturdy, and this is it. And let me give you a side angle so you can see how much closer it sits than a jack that is in the out position. So if I'm lining myself up down here, you can see this one is almost touching the corner of the camper, and this one probably sits out like 10 to 12 inches. Here's another shot of the jacks. It's too bad it's getting dark, so I apologize about that. Those 2 are in, and these 2 are still out. Now all the camper jacks are in, and the most important part is to make sure all your doors are locked, the propane's off and the door's closed, and then the most important part is just to retighten all of the straps before you move the camper at all. Well, that's pretty much it. I didn't film myself putting the wire on for the marker lights, but that's pretty simple. You just plug in the connector and that's it. I don't think I've mentioned it, but we have the Olympic model. Ours is a 2020. And as far as I'm aware, this is currently the same for all camper models. The 2024, 2025 pop-up ones that Scout just announced might have a different jack setup, but other than those, this is it for every Scout camper. I would say budget like 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what you have to move and how long it takes you to line up the truck properly. And if you have to put air back in your airbags of your truck, then it might take you a little bit longer. I hope this was an informative video for people if you're thinking about getting one. And as always, thanks for watching.